I'm Marco Antonio Rodriguez. I'm the writer and director of the play La Luz de un Cigarrillo. And this interview has been brought to you by Latin Patty.
Action.
Hola Marco Antonio, ¿cómo estás?
Hola Patty. Oh, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias por reunirte con el Latin Patio.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
Welcome. For people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, mi nombre es Marco Antonio Rodriguez, and I am the writer, director, and associate producer of the Dominican York play La Luz de un Cigarrillo, The Light of a Cigarette, which is being presented in New York City at Lean Stages Studio Theater in the Bronx coming up in September. And that big noise that you guys are hearing is, hey, welcome to New York, right? Somebody's AC, I don't know, somebody's getting atracado, I don't know, something.
Let's talk a little bit about you now before we talk about the play, which I know has been a hit in New York City. Tell us when you fell in love with writing.
I've always been a writer. I grew up as an only child and in a very small environment, small sort of efficiency apartment. And so I had to rely a lot on my imagination because I didn't have any siblings to share it with. And my mother was always working, so a lot of the times I was being home alone. So I just started to create characters and write things and sort of live off of that and have fun with that and playing with myself. That sounded kind of wrong, but you know what I mean.
I know.
And so I've always been a writer, and then I got involved with acting, and that led to sort of singing, which led to directing, which led to writing, so sort of always been involved in the arts.
Very nice, you're very diverse, but what do you like to do the most?
I feel like right now, I think we all evolve and change, but right at the moment, writing is my passion right now at the moment because I can spend a lot of time alone and have control, which I love. I'm kind of a control freak, so writing sort of allows me to do that. Create my own world, create my own people, also sort of express ideas and thoughts that I may or may not agree with through my stories, and to sort of reach the masses.
Good, and what do you think makes good writing?
A good point of view, a strong point of view. Good writing is about having a strong point of view and then taking that point of view and having the sort of confidence to break it apart and to stretch it and to analyze it and to sort of see somebody else's opinion and your opinion at the same time. Also, a good writer is a good observer. The best writers are great observers of life. You don't have to be poetic. You don't have to be learned. You just have to know how to make a good observation about something. Something very little can say a lot. So those are the two things that, in my opinion, makes a good writer.
Okay, and what is your favorite theme or element in writing?
I don't have a favorite because to me, life is my theme. It depends on where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm with. I get inspired by a cockroach. I was just inspired by, these plumitas that I just saw from the pigeons that have been shedding plumas here in this building.
So what do you have to say about the plumita?
For me, the plumita represents a lot of the people that have been living in this building for a long, long time, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're getting older now, so their sort of feathers are kind of falling off.
Oh.
And sooner or later, they'll move on, and others will move into this building. And to me, that's sort of just symbolic. It's a very old building. It's 100 years old, and a lot of people who live here have gone. There's very few, including my mother, she's still here. There's very few of the people from 30 or 40 years ago that are still here. It's about 4 or 5 of them. And I think about that. And I remember growing up in this building, seeing the pigeons, they still do it, nesting in the areas of the air conditioning. Sometimes we would take them in if they were hurt and nurse them back to health. But to me, this represents sort of the people that live here, that have been living here for a long time. Sooner or later,
they're gone.
They're gone.
Very nice. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and your background. I understand you're Dominican, correct?
Yeah. I was born in New York City, but I was sent to live in the Dominican Republic when I was very little. So I lived there for about 3 or 4 years. My first language is Spanish. Okay. And then I came back to New York City, and I grew up in New York City in Manhattan. And I'm the son of a single mother. And I grew up in a very small, what do you call it? What would you call it? A room?
Studio?
A studio apartment, yeah.
A tiny studio?
A tiny studio apartment. Very cluttered studio apartment. My mother always kept everything. She never threw anything away. Still, I mean, we have cans of corn from like 20 years ago. La Luz de un Cigarrillo, the original production ran in 2011 at La Theater. And it's a story of a son who leaves his roots. He goes off to college for various reasons, not just because he's going off to college. He returns 5 years later because his father passed away. And he's forced to confront his mother, whom he hasn't seen in a very long time, and confront his truth and confront his roots. So is she. She also has to confront a lot of issues. And so the things that they think sets them apart, because they're constantly in conflict, are the very things that actually brings them together. They are more similar than they know, than they realize. So it's about returning back to our roots, living our truth, and it's about unconditional love, because a mother's love knows no boundaries, and neither does a son's. And so it's really about this mother and son coming together. So it's a universal sort of play. It just so happens that this family is Dominican.
Tell me which one was the scene that made you laugh the most, the hardest, and the one that made you cry the most?
Well, the things that make me laugh the most are anything with Divina in it.
Okay.
Just because of what I just shared.
All right.
And also the quiet moments when nothing is said, when the mother is just staring at the son. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's just this silence. I love those moments. I live for those moments because they're filled. But that's the toughest parts for me writing them was the confrontation between the mother and son. Is a big blow-up confrontation between mother and child. And also the moment when, I don't want to reveal too much, but towards the end, when they start to really understand each other without saying it,
Yeah.
when they really start to come to terms with one another, bringing that sense of understanding, not acceptance, but understanding
Tolerance.
and tolerance with each other. Those were, for me, very cathartic.
Very good. I'm glad you touching on something on a subject so sensitive in this play. How do people take it? How did people react to the play and what it's about and the moral behind
What
it?
Patty's talking about. There's the themes of sexuality in the play that come up that are very strong, but subtle, super subtle. And yet, the elephants in the room is a subject that's very taboo, particularly in the Caribbean, not just Dominican Republic. And I was surprised at how well people received it, because I thought, oh God, I hope people don't run out the theater, but people were crying and telling me how thankful they were that I did this, and oh my God, every performance, people would come up to me and grab my hand, mothers, grandmothers, fathers, sons, daughters, just saying thank you. I may not have someone who has sexuality issues in my family, but I know friends who do. I'm just so thankful that you're bringing it up.
So would you say that's the most important part of your job? That's the most rewarding part of your job,
Yeah.
when the audience says thank you?
Well, I'm a communicator. As an actor, as a director, as a writer, my purpose is to communicate, to share, and to create conversation, in my opinion, for me. And to entertain, of course, but also to provoke. And so for me, it was thrilling. And then all the other stuff that happened after with the play, as you know,
Yes.
was just the icing on the cake. The tickets are available now.
Where can we get tickets from?
You can go to www.smarttix.com and look it up as La Luz, L-A-L-U-Z as in zebra. It's in English, it's in Spanish, it's in Spanish, with English super titles. So even if you're a gringo, you can sort of watch the play and see what's going on right above you. Or you can call 212-529-1948, 212-529-1948 for tickets. Go, because even if you're not Dominican, you're going to see yourself on stage. Family, it's a family thing. So even if you are, we have people from the Middle East
Oh, really?
that came to see the show. And we're like, that was surprising. And said, oh my God, that's my family. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. It's not just here, it's everywhere. So,
All right. So Marco Antonio, I need to tell me, who is your favorite Latino writer? Who's inspiring to you?
well, I have several, but my top is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, just because of his magical realism, which I love that genre. Of course, Junot Diaz, who's been sort of breaking ground and really breaking through. And I've met, he came to see the play, loved
So
it.
what did he think about
He
it?
loved it. He gave me a quote, which I've been sort of using as much as I can, milking it. He He's wonderful. He's really, really generous. So those two, right now anyway.
Okay, te voy a hacer esta última pregunta en
And of
español.
course Shakespeare. Duh.
Ah. Te voy a hacer esta última pregunta en español porque
Ajá.
quiero que te conectes con la audiencia.
Sí, claro.
Quiero que me des, ¿qué consejo le darías a los jóvenes que como yo estamos tratando de hacer nuestros sueños realidad?
El consejo principal es que no se den por vencidos. Suena cliché, pero es la verdad. Mientras más puertas se te cierren, tú buscas la manera de abrir otra. Siempre, siempre. Aunque se te cierre la puerta más mayor. Y también otra cosa es ser flexible. Porque las expectativas a veces que tú te pones en la cabeza te limitan. Tú piensas que nada más puede ser así. Y tiene que ser así. Pero el universo y Dios tiene otro plan. Entonces tienes que estar siempre abierto y flexible. Que si no va así, otra cosa puede que te lleve a ese camino que tú quieres llegar. Así que ser flexible con la vida. Y la otra cosita es la humildad, el respeto y la generosidad. Esas tres cosas son principales. So this is where I went to elementary school. This is where all the magic happened. Little Marco was running around getting ideas, metiéndose en problemas, you know, castigo, la chancleta. From about kindergarten to 6th grade. But I was in the Dominican Republic. And then I was brought back to New York City. So I didn't speak any English. So I had to start from kindergarten all the way up to 6th grade. I was at this elementary school, PS 163. Good memories, lots of memories here. El mondongo.
Ay, la
¿Te gusta el mondongo?
me encanta el mondongo, los tostones.
Quemado, yeah.
¿Y das merengue?
Yeah,